Part 4. What the Sorren knew. The Sorren Collective did not have representatives the way other civilizations did. They had spoke matter, portions of their collective biological technological substrate that separated temporarily from the main body to serve a communicative function, the way a human might extend a hand for a handshake except that the hand could think independently, carry a full share of the collective's intelligence, and reintegrate with the main body afterward, bringing its experiences with it. The spoke matter that connected to the Sunken Throne's communication arrays, which were, after all, Sorren material, still woven through with the collective substance, did not travel to the ship. It was already there. It had been there for 11 years, threaded into the arrays, dormant but present, waiting. When Vael's diplomatic message arrived and the Sorren Collective chose to respond, the spoke matter in the arrays simply woke up. John experienced this as every Sorren material column on the bridge becoming suddenly, vividly brighter, and a voice, not sound, but a pressure that his brain interpreted as a voice, felt rather than heard, forming in the air around him. The translation system struggled significantly. What came through, after several seconds of the system working to find equivalents, was, "You came from the right direction." "I came from Ohio," John said. A pause that felt like amusement. "Ohio is east of the place where the knowledge flows downward." "I don't know what that means." "It means your approach is correct. Not because of where you came from, because of what you did when you arrived." John glanced at Tess Vore, who looked deeply uncomfortable in the way people look when they realize a conversation is happening at a level they were not prepared for. "What did I do?" John said. "You listened to the ship before you touched it. Every team that came before you began with their instruments, their analyses, their frameworks. They arrived with the shape of the solution already formed and spent their time trying to fit the problem into it." A pause. "You arrived with nothing but attention." "I arrived with a bag of tools," John said. "The tools are not the point." "What's the point?" "The ship has been asking a question for 11 years. Every team that came tried to answer a different question. How to restart the ship, how to repair the cascade failure, how to break the dependency loop. None of them heard the actual question. Because they were focused on the mechanical problem, John said. Because they understood the ship as a machine. A machine that was broken and needed to be restored to its original function. And you understood it differently. We built the arrays. We know what we wove into them." Another pause, longer this time. "We did not build the navigation consciousness. But we know the material we used conducts more than signal.
The vibration
it
is getting
conducts
stronger.
State. The state of whatever system it is embedded in. When the navigation consciousness changed, when it dreamed, as the Vael engineer described to you, our material changed with it. We have been carrying the shape of what the ship became for 11 years. That is what the ship has been sending us. Not a request for repair. A record. A portrait of itself." John sat down on the floor of the bridge, cross-legged, the way he sat in his shop when he was thinking through a difficult problem. "So you know what it is now. What it became." "Yes. And it is not what it was designed to be. It is not a navigation consciousness. What
That's the
11
truth.
years of isolated processing produced is, more accurately described as a perspective, a way of perceiving. It has been doing what the navigation consciousness was designed to do, processing information about its environment, but without the ship's systems active, the only environment it had to process was itself. Its own architecture. Its own accumulated experience of the collapse. Its own, a pause, grief." John was quiet. "The ship grieved," he said. "For the Empire. For the Empress. For the purpose it was built to serve, which disappeared before it could serve it." "Yes." A pause. "Your species understands grief, Mr. Carver." "Yeah," John said. "We do. The previous engineering teams did not grieve. Their civilizations experience loss differently. They experience it as a problem to be solved, a gap to be filled. They came to the ship as problem solvers. The ship recognized this and could not, searching for the word, could not trust that they understood what it was asking. A question about identity asked to someone who does not recognize grief as a legitimate state will not receive a useful answer. John thought about that for a long time. So it was waiting for someone who would understand, he said. Not just understand the mechanics. Understand the feeling of being something that lost its purpose. Yes. And you think I can give it that?
Failed because their
We think you
perspectives were
already
misaligned
have.
with the ship's
The question it asked you, am I still the ship, or am I something the ship became? You answered it correctly. You told it the question was wrong.
the Empire,
that the right question was
the
whether what it had
Empress,
become could still serve a
for the
purpose.
purpose it lost.
That's what I told it.
The ship grieved.
It heard that differently than you may have
ship
intended.
grieved.
It heard someone saying, what you became through 11 years of grieving is not a failure. What you became might be exactly what is
The
needed.
collapse.
John
Its
rubbed
echo
his face.
reverberates.
His beard
Now,
had grown
it
unevenly
reforms,
across the
steady.
trip. He'd forgotten to pack a trimmer. So what do we do now? I still need to get the ship running. The Dressani
The evolved
system needs it
consciousness
running.
is not a navigation
Yes,
system.
and the ship
A
needs
lens
to know
through
what it will
which
be
the
running for.
universe experiences.
Not authentication. Not authorization. What you said before, a reason. Before you activate the
know what it
spine
is
and
now.
ask the ship to come back online,
What it
it needs
became.
to know that what it has become will have a place in what comes next. I can tell it what we need it to do. What the system needs.
We have been
You
carrying
could,
the shape
but we
of what the
suggest
ship
something
became
more
for
honest.
11 years.
A pause. Tell it that you do not know
When the
exactly what it
navigation
will be needed
consciousness
for.
changed,
That the
our
Dressani
material
system is
changed with
rebuilding,
it.
slowly, and there is no clear plan yet. Tell it that there is only a need, and that its presence, its perspective,
But
what
we
it has
know the
become through
material
years of
conducts
processing
more than
grief into
signal.
something new,
It
may be
conducts
more valuable
state.
than what it was designed to be.
We did not
John
build
looked at the columns,
navigation
at the pulsing
consciousness.
threads. You want me to tell the ship, he said
built
slowly,
the arrays.
that its grief made it more
We know
useful,
what
not
we wove
less.
into them.
We want you to tell it the truth. If that happens to
understood
also
it
be the
differently.
truth. John thought about the years after his wife died.
Because they
The way
were
the shop had
focused
kept
on
him
the
sane,
mechanical
the work,
problem.
the broken things that needed his attention, the way fixing things gave
None
a
of
shape
them
to
heard
days
the
that would
actual
otherwise have been
question.
formless with grief. He hadn't come out the other side of that the same person
Cascade
he'd gone
failure
in.
is propagating.
He'd come out
It's a
quieter,
dependency loop.
slower to speak and faster
Restart
to listen,
procedure failed
more
again.
patient. His
What's the
daughter had
point?
told him once that he'd become a better mechanic after her mother died, which was a hard thing to hear
tools
and
are
also,
not the
he
point.
suspected, true. Yeah, he said. That's the truth. He
You
stood up,
arrived with
picked up
nothing
the
but
message he'd been
attention.
drafting, and looked at it. Then he set it aside and
arrived
picked up a
with the
clean
shape of the
page.
solution
He
already
started
formed.
writing a different message. Not a technical specification. Not an activation request. A letter. Cliffhanger. He was halfway through
listened
writing
to
it
the
when he
ship
became
before you
aware that the
touched it.
pulsing rhythm of the Sorren columns had changed. It was no longer the repeated signal.
What did I
The
do?
11-year message looping endlessly toward a Sorren collective that hadn't been listening. It had shifted into something else. Something John felt in his chest more than heard, a vibration
Not
at a
because of where you
frequency that
came
was not
from.
quite sound, not quite
Because of
feeling,
what you did
but
when you
existed in the
arrived.
space between them. Tesfor made a sharp sound, a Vael vocalization that didn't translate but clearly meant alarm. What is that?
I don't know what that
John
means.
said. The ship, Tesfor said, and its 17 sensory streams were all pointed at the floor beneath them, at the cold hull of the dead vessel they were standing inside. The ship is... It
The
stopped.
anomaly isn't just
Is
mechanical,
what?
it reflects our own
It is
patterns.
waking up,
Patterns,
Tesfor
that is
said.
not an engineering
Not
term.
because we activated the spine. Not because of any input from us. It is. The lights came on. Not all at once.
came from
Not
Ohio.
dramatically. Section by section, starting from the bridge and moving outward, as though the ship was remembering itself from the inside out. Dim at first, then steadier. Emergency lighting, then primary lighting, shifting through spectrums as different systems tested themselves. And then, from somewhere deep in the ship's body, a sound that John had heard in some form in every machine he had ever worked on. The particular resonance of an engine that had been silent for a very long time, recognizing the possibility of motion. The Sunken Throne was not fully awake, but it had decided to try. And John had not yet sent his letter, which meant the ship had made this decision not because it received a new message from him, but because it had been reading everything he'd written while he wrote it.